Hello, this is just a simple game design that popped into my head yesterday for some reason. I say simple, but as a burnt out former game designer of small talent, I am aware that making an actual good game probably takes a great deal of time and talent and effort, and uh, which I don't have. So I'm just flinging this out into the ether in the hopes that it tricks some actual talented individuals into making games that I'll enjoy playing. Thank you. Anyway, um, so I'm just reading what I typed up when I should have been going to bed last night. Single screen platform game in which defeated enemies ricochet around the screen. SSPGIWDERATS for short. A public domain game design that you can use however you like. So the game is a single screen platform game in which the player clears enemies from the stage by striking them with weapons of the violence. Oh, while the enemies try to strike the player with weapons or natural attacks like, I don't know, claws or biting or, whatever enemies do. I suppose a player could have claws or bites as well, but never mind for now. So players and enemies, both the player and enemies, may be able to survive multiple hits. Once they have taken all the hits they can bear, enemies are KO'd and knocked away across the screen, bouncing off the walls for a certain number of ricochets, after which they fly off the screen entirely, utterly defeated. If their flight around the screen intersects with another enemy, that enemy takes damage, potentially getting KO'd and flying across the screen themselves. So you could have, chain reactions or something. Being closer to the enemy when KOing them could send them flying at an increased velocity. And I add that, I don't know, just for the sake of visual variety perhaps, or maybe those hits could do more damage. But I'm not really thinking of a game where you're like really trying to juice the velocity of a hit. There are games like that, and that's not really what this is intended to be. Stages. Once all enemies on the stage are defeated, the game advances to a new stage with a new arrangement of platforms with connecting ladders, etc., however you get between platforms or whatever they may be, and enemies. Once the player takes all the hits they can bear, they are KO'd and have to restart the stage, or maybe just have to sit through a few seconds delay while they respawn in the corner or something. When they advance to a new stage, their health, the player's health, that is fully restored. Stages may be fixed or procedurally generated. As the stage number increases, the power and or number of enemies increases. Larger and more powerful enemies could require more hits to KO and could inflict more damage on other enemies as they ricochet around the screen. Controls. The player controls the character with 4-button input and potentially 2 action buttons, attack and jump. So my NES preferences are showing. I'm old. Jump is only really necessary if there will be enemies firing projectiles horizontally at the character or flying enemies the player cannot reach from a standing position. That doesn't read very well. Anyway, I'm just saying you could potentially make like a really simple version of this game. Similarly, you could have attack. Like, attack isn't strictly necessary as a button. The player's attack could simply auto-fire or auto-hit when the player bumps into an enemy. I'm not sure that would be as fun. In fact, I like attack. I like 2 buttons. But anyway, I'm just throwing that stuff out there as other possibilities. Optional power-ups. Stages may have power-ups such as potions that temporarily confer additional abilities to players or even to enemies, such as speeding them up, allowing them to levitate, or increasing their strength, which could allow their hits to inflict more damage, or their KO'd opponents to ricochet more times around the screen. There could also be temporary powered-up weapons for players. The default sword weapon may launch KO'd enemies upward at a 45-degree angle, for instance, but the player could find a spear whose thrust launches KO'd enemies horizontally, or hammer that smashes them into the ground, bouncing them vertically. Missile weapon. God, this is so violent, but I'm still immature and thinking of violence. Bouncing them vertically. Missile weapons could inflict no bounce on KO'd enemies to counterbalance their superior range. For balance reasons, it might be best to limit the duration of such weapons. But you know, this is the part that would take like actual, you know, like time and effort probably and skill to come up with workable balance here. On the other hand, if the game had co-op, different players could, for instance, be given the choice of different characters with different abilities and weapons. So you know, it could be you could pick the character who smashes enemies horizontally, or the character who hits them vertically, or the character who bats them at 45 or 60 or 30-degree angle or whatever. I don't know. And then the rest of this is just about my own human frailties. A personal note: avoiding the use of flashing effects and screen shake would be appreciated, as I can get migraines from such things because I have made poor choices and stayed up too late, too long, and I get migraines from flashing effects and things. And then also these days, I avoid games with guns, but because that's just depressing and too much like what you see on the news every day. And they're, you know, I don't credit myself with being able to think of actual original ideas, so there's probably games that have certain elements of this, like ricocheting enemies and so forth, but I can't think of one consciously that is particularly like this, what I've described here, this sort of arcadey style, single screen platform type thing. But if you're aware of such a game that predates this design publication of June 23rd, 2025, let me know, and I don't know, change the title to reflect that, or make a note in the description, or a comment, or maybe just delete this whole video out of shame and fear of being sued. I don't know. Anyway, I didn't mean to copy anything, but you know, my subconscious could be playing a big trick on me, or there could just be plenty of games that I have missed in my ignorance. That's it. Thanks for watching, and if you are a person who makes games, I salute you. Thank you. Bye-bye.